There are many gods that exist within both Soul Eater and Fire Force, and today we'll be taking a look at each and every single god and ranking them from weakest to strongest. Now the only rules for this video, because I'm pretty sure as viewers you are all going to have different ideas on what's considered a god in Soul Eater or Fire Force, but I'm going to lay it out. If you're considered a god, obviously you're on the list. If you're considered a god-like being, you are also on the list as well. And if you are also given the title of god as well. And unfortunately, I will not be including Poseidon on this list because he's from a CD drama. But speaking of people who have the title of god, that starts our list off with Mifune. He's known as the god of the sword. Ever since he was first introduced, he would give Black Star a run for his money. And he's actually one of, if not the sole reason as to why Black Star was able to transcend the gods. Because if it wasn't for the lasting effects of the battles that Black Star had with Mifune, he probably wouldn't have reached those heights by following the path of the warrior. In this series, Mifune is the only character with a soul that is equivalent to 99 human souls. And honestly, this would make the most sense because he would be the closest regular human to God, or at least reaching a godlike level. And this would only make sense because Black Star, with his goal being to transcend gods, he'd have to transcend the god of the sword, who would be the human closest to the level of a godlike being. Mifune is so strong, without a death scythe, he is able to compete against Sid while he's using Azusa. And obviously she's pretty broken because she's a death scythe. Mifune, without a demon weapon and only using ordinary swords, can contest a death scythe, one of God's weapons. And next on the list would be the current god of the world in Soul Eater, Kid. Now the question is, why is the current god of Soul Eater so low? It's because his powers just don't match up to Shinigami's or Asura's. I've seen so many comments on my top 10 video when people are like, oh, technically Kid would be stronger than Shinigami because he's the next god after him, right? No, if you read the manga, that is not the case. Kid is so strong, his soul can encompass the entire moon, and his wavelength is so strong, it can reach the earth and cause waves on the ocean. Unfortunately, that is not enough for the other gods on this list. Kid even admitted that currently he and DWMA alone could not defeat the Kishin in the War on the Moon, and they also acquired assistance from the witches. Death, the previous Shinigami before Kid, would not have had to rely on the power of the witches, because he is equal to Asura in power. The way I see it is Kid definitely does have the potential to be one of the stronger characters in the verse, but since he only recently became a god, he can't take full advantage of his Shinigami powers and rival his brother. Also, I'm sorry if I sound weird, it's because I'm very sick and I just want to try and get a video out for you guys. Now next on the list we have Black Star. I know a lot of you guys think Black Star is the strongest character in Soul Eater, but that is actually not the case. On more than one occasion, it has been stated that is simply not true. Kid is actually on the same level in strength as Black Star, but he's just slightly worse than him. Black Star did indeed transcend the gods because Kid is technically a god, but he has not transcended all of them. At the end of the manga, Black Star is training and he says that one day he will be strong enough to fight the Kishin alone. The entire fight, Black Star, Kid, and Maka and the witches, everybody on the moon had to work together to defeat the Kishin. Black Star is strong. But again, these other gods in the series have been gods longer than they have way more experience, and definitely know how to take full advantage of their powers. All of, if not most of these characters are all beyond human understanding. That's why they have such bizarre abilities like Black Star being able to grab lasers and all this other stuff. Levitation, Toon Force, you name it. But it seems as if he's simply not at the same level as the other gods in this verse. Gods whose presence alone can drive you to madness, create worlds, travel through time, etc. It is possible that Black Star could do these things because, as stated, he can literally do anything. Up next, we have Arthur. Now, this is very debatable on whether or not Arthur is stronger than Kid and Black Star. But at least for me, I'd put them all on the same tier. I don't know who is stronger exactly, but I would say that Black Star is slightly stronger than Kid, and I would say that Arthur is slightly stronger than Black Star. It's just really ambiguous because these guys are all capable of doing anything. anything that their imagination allows them to. They think it and they do it. Arthur does this just like Black Star. He comes back from the dead. He blows up stars. He's able to breathe in space. All of these characters practically have no limits because they can do whatever their imagination lets them. But it seems as though there are certain extents to those powers, even though we don't know exactly what those extents could be, but they just can't use these abilities as well as the others on the list. It's kind of crazy to say that these characters can do absolutely anything they put their mind to because they can. The best I could describe it is that they have light manipulation of the universe that they currently exist in. They can slightly alter the laws in physics, blow up stars, etc. But we haven't seen anything outside of that. And with that, I would say that these guys are known as the lesser gods of the Soul Eater / Fire Force verse. And up next, we have the king of the lesser gods, Benimaru himself. Benimaru's teachings are the sole reason as to why the other lesser gods are even capable of performing the feats that they perform throughout the series. What do I mean by that? That's just some deeper stuff in the manga that I'm gonna have to explain in another video, but yeah, be on the lookout for that. I just want you guys to know that I'm not capping when I'm saying that. But as the king of the lesser gods, Benimaru did practically teach everybody under him, and he can basically do anything that he wants as well. But it seems as though he never has the need to use this ability. But the instances when he does use this form of reality manipulation or changing or altering the laws of physics of the universe, he definitely has the best feats. During his fight with his master, he was altering the world with every single collision that they had with one another, causing the ocean to change, looking like it was from a Japanese painting. Benimaru's final attack is literally the reason why we have the Soul Eater moon in the first place. He literally changed the moon with one attack. But easily his most impressive feat is that he literally defeated the idea of the strongest. The concept of mankind, what they would think would be the strongest human being, he literally one-tapped it and destroyed it. This being the copy of Benimaru, which is literally the concept, the idea of being the strongest, without even trying, casually makes a Nichiren that could destroy the entire planet. And Benimaru one-taps this guy. He one-taps the idea. He's tougher than the idea of what mankind can imagine the strongest opponent could possibly be. Benimaru's doppelganger says, and I quote, "So you're even stronger than the toughest of all humankind can imagine." Do you know how fucking broken that is? You could probably argue with this feat alone that he could be even higher on the list. There is a reason why he is known as Akala himself. Out of everyone, Benimaru is the closest to being a god. Well, at least a higher tier god. But these guys coming up next are absolutely disgusting. Up next on the list, we have Eibon, one of the great old ones from Soul Eater. Eibon is the strongest sorcerer in all of Soul Eater. He is the sole reason as to why demon weapons exist because he created them with Shinigami. His very existence can drive you into madness, as he is a great old one. But the type of madness he has would be the madness of knowledge. It overflows your mind altogether and makes it so that you can no longer think anymore. But not only this, Eibon is omniscient and can read minds. You might be asking, where exactly does it say this in the manga? And to that I'd say you'd have to really be paying attention. When Kid first meets Eibon, he reads his mind and he says, "So you can see through everything." And Eibon proceeds to tell Kid what he reads from his mind. There are multiple instances when these abilities are more or less implied. On more than one occasion, it is implied that Eibon's knowledge is within the Book of Eibon. And with the book being a treasure trove of knowledge that has no end, that would make Eibon omniscient because this would be his knowledge. I'm not gonna lie, Eibon is way stronger than I thought he was, because when you put this into perspective, Noah is just a regular sorcerer. But he has the Book of Eibon in his hands. It makes you wonder just how strong would the Book of Eibon be if it was in the hands of Eibon himself, someone who can fully utilize it. And that's not including if Eibon were to use both the Book of Eibon and Brew on his side. Honestly, with those two tools, you could probably put him higher on this list because he's an absolute monster. Next on the list, we have Excalibur. Excalibur is so broken, and I do think it's fair to put him above Eibon on this list because if the worst Meister in DWMA, literally verbatim the worst, could use him and become the top student, that should say a lot in itself. If you were to take Black Star and give him Excalibur, he would probably bop most of the people on this list. If you were to give Arthur current Excalibur, he would be an absolute monster and could definitely be much higher on the list due to that alone. In the hands of Liz, another weapon, not even a Meister, he was able to slice through space. So with that, you could only imagine what he's truly capable of. He is the strongest weapon in the series, and even in the worst of hands, he can practically decimate anyone and anything. Now above Excalibur, I have the Great Old One of Power. He is so strong. He has the same wavelength as Asura. There's not much known about him, but given the fact that he is the Great One of Power, he is so dangerous he was sealed inside of the Book of Eibon. And is one of the reasons why Krona sacrificed himself to seal him away at the end of the story. And with him having a wavelength that can match Asura and Shinigami's, I think he's more than justified to be in this position. Up next, we have Shinigami and Asura. They're so broken, their soul wavelength can encompass the entire planet. Shinigami as the god of the cosmos that literally maintains order over the universe, he can ultimately determine who dies and who doesn't. When it comes to Shinigami and the Kishin, we aren't shown exactly what they are capable of, but it does seem like at the bare minimum they have some form of Toon Force-esque abilities. Well, honestly, I wouldn't say bare minimum, I'd say an extensive amount, because obviously Black Star is not as strong as them, and he's capable of doing that as well. Their very presence can change and warp reality. Death, we don't get to see it too much because he's maintaining the order of the reality and world that they currently live in, but we get a taste of this with the Kishin. The moment he is unsealed, his wavelength starts to make the world change. Unfortunately, we don't see the full extent of these powers because obviously Shinigami is overruling it with his order. At the bare minimum in terms of just their wavelength, not actually using the full extent of their powers, they're capable of making crazy things happen, such as Atlantis that was once sunken at the bottom of the sea could potentially surface again, and witches that were once lying dormant could awaken. Keep in mind, this happened without Asura even trying, and while Shinigami was basically nerfing him with his order. To put it in simplistic terms, Asura was trying to rewrite the laws of our universe, but Shinigami was also maintaining them. That's why we aren't able to see how their powers would play out. As gods, they are both beyond human understanding and can practically do anything they put their minds to. And this is not including things such as the Kishin being fear itself and Shinigami being the symbol of order. Their powers get kind of crazy, even if we don't see some flashy or crazy feat from them. Up next, we have the Evangelist, being the embodiment of the collective human unconscious. An assimilation of every mythological history ever created by the human race. Basically, a combination of every god throughout history. She is absolutely broken, having the ability to justify contradictions in the laws of the universe, fate manipulation, and so much more. I'm not going to spend too much time on the Evangelist because the next one on this list, the final character, the absolute strongest in this series, can do all of this and then some. We already know who it is. It is Shinra. This dude is such a monster. He made a god. He made Shinigami, the dude who is literally before the Evangelist on this list. He's so broken, he created the world of Soul Eater. He's so broken, he makes the Evangelist look like nothing. Every single attack that she throws at him, even if verbatim, this attack is supposed to destroy anything it touches. The fucking passive ability from this laser, if anything makes contact with it, it destroys it. He can literally change the laws of this ability and neg it. Verbatim, it's supposed to destroy anything it touches. He grabs it and throws it and casually creates an ozone layer out of it. Shinra Bansho, man, is so broken. He does not try at all when he fights. And he's definitely up there with some of the strongest anime characters. That is not an exaggeration. That is not a joke. Making a god, rewriting the laws of physics, the laws of the universe and how things operate in our universe, creating life, creating death, changing the value of life, traveling through time. There is absolutely nothing he cannot do. And with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next Soul Eater video. Do you agree with my list? If not, what would you change? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys later.